I am super excited for locals tonight. Of course, I'm looking forward to seeing all my friends, but also tonight it's our pirate party event. This event is really cool because it actually has a ban list of a bunch of leaders that you are not allowed to use. And most of these, of course, are the top dogs when it comes to the meta. So because of that, this encourages players to bring decks that maybe they haven't played in a little while or maybe aren't as strong, and they get to enjoy them for a night. I will say it's kind of crazy that Emu dodged this list of all decks, but hey, I'm not Bandai, so maybe they're cooking, I don't know. Real quick, I gotta do a couple of shout outs. This past week, I actually had the honor of being on the Pop One podcast. This was a really cool experience where we got to talk about kind of my journey and how I started this whole YouTube thing, as well as just talk about the game that we love, and it was so much fun. So shout out to the Pop One podcast, and if you guys want to check it out, I'll have the link in the description below. On top of that, man, I just want to thank you guys. I kind of started out this YouTube thing because I just really felt the need to make content for a game that I love, and this week we actually hit 200 subscribers. I'm not really big on numbers or analytics, but I think it's really cool that you guys are enjoying what I'm creating, and it truly does motivate and encourage me. So God bless you guys, and thank you so much. All right, we can get back into the video now. For tonight, we're actually going to be playing green Zoro. Zoro is a pet deck of mine and one that I played a lot back in OP13. I will admit that the list has kind of changed up a little bit. A lot of the Don Krieg support that we got in OP15 actually works really well in Zoro. So with that being said, this is the list that I'm going to be playing tonight at locals. One of the new additions that I'd love to point out is the new Arlong. Not only is this a 4-drop slash character that we can play off of our 3-drop Mihawk, but he has two really good effects. The first is that if our opponent tries to get rid of him, then we get to freeze 2 of their cards. This is not just characters and it's not just Dawn, this is just cards in general. That means their leader, and that also means their stage. This is already pretty good against Emu because if they choose to get rid of it, we can actually freeze their stage, and that's just huge for us. But Arlong's second effect is also really good. Every turn we can make our opponent take one of their rested Dawn and give it to one of their characters, but then we can also grab either a rested or active Dawn from their cost area and give it to one of their characters. I know the card does not read that, this was errated and confirmed by Bandai. This is also really good into Emu, especially if we have multiple copies on the field. And on top of that, worst case, if they don't have any active Dawn, we can always just take one of our own Dawn and add it to our Zoro to just make him bigger. The card's just super solid, and with all the new searching cards that we got in OP15, I'm just super excited to play this deck. It's gonna be a really fun night, and I can't wait to show you guys how my games go. So let's head to locals, and I'll see you guys there. Let's go.
Those are never the rules, I ain't make up the path. Keep giving and giving, but never getting it back. Those dudes be hoping and wishing you give them scraps. Working the 9 to 5 that start to feel like a trap. My feet hurt and my back do too. I got a headache type of stuff to turn my tattoos blue. And suckers steady be green, but you going through a struggle. So whatever that mean, got me caught up in the bubble. Ain't no price on no time thrown. That's why you stressing, cause you out here wasting time thrown. You used to wake up.
Let me get to my spot so we can chat. This will work on the ground. Okay guys, we are officially at locals, and we just wrapped up our first round. My biggest fear in playing Zoro tonight was obviously Boa. It's one of our most unwinnable matchups, and of course one of my good friends is here playing it, but luckily we didn't pair into him for round 1. We paired into my really good friend Michael, and he's on red, yellow, Bonnie. Now this is a deck that, if I'm being totally honest, I don't know what all of the cards do, but I do know that they play the new Zoro, and that card is just cracked. I look at my opening hand and there's just not a lot of great play, so I send it back and I actually opened up a pretty decent hand. Now I don't end up hitting the turn 2 combo, and I have to do this weird play where I swing 5 with my leader and then I swing 5 with my Perona. Now of course when he went into his 6th on turn, he was able to throw down the 5-drop Nami, and I had to pick up a life. This is something I just do when I'm playing against shallow decks with this new Nami card, especially with Zoro. It's really hard for me to convince myself to swing into it because I know that they could always play a Borsalino, and in doing this they get a free blocker and a free heal, and it just doesn't feel great. So of course my game plan is just to try to kill him without having to take care of this Nami. His first rush Zoro comes down, and of course there's not a lot I can do. The Zoro can also neg one of our bodies, so if I slap some Dawn on one of my Tashigis to swing at life, well then on the crack back those Tashigis are most likely just dead. The issue comes when he plays down his second rush Zoro. I'm already not feeling super great about this, so I've just got to try and play around it. He's a 9k leader, and I realize that even with both of my Tashigis, there's no way I can really go for lethal, given that if he has just about any counter in his hand, we don't get there. So I do the next best thing that I can do. I end up playing my 6-drop Law to replay my Tashigi to rest his cheap blocker that he played out. I end up putting one of my free Dawn onto Zoro so that I can swing 9k into his Zoro, which of course he gives me counter for, but I already knew that. I'm just trying to eat down his hand. I restand and swing it life, and then I play the I Know You're Strong event to stun his Nami and his Zoro. So when I'm passing back to him, all he has is this 1k blocker, the Zoro, and then his leader swing. The only out that I know of that's in his deck is the 9-drop rush Bonnie. Of course, he taps out and he just plays the Bonnie down. Now, I actually had a lot of counter in my hand, but I was just shy of being able to get there. It was still a really close and also a really fun game against my really good friend. So we're X1 going into this thing, but I'm really excited to see how the rest of the night goes playing one of my favorite decks. I'll check in with you guys after round 2, and let's go. All right, guys, we are back after round 2. We ended up pairing into red, yellow, Sabo. Never played against that deck. I saw Sabo and thought it was the red, black variant. Red, its leader ability, which seemed pretty good with all the really good yellow cards we have floating around. I ended up winning dice rolls, so that was already really good. I ended up hitting my 3-drop Mihawk into an Arlong. I didn't have the restand Zoro, but I think just getting that Arlong down established earlier is just going to give me a lot of value. He played his 4-drop Zoro to heal a life, but then I was able to just Tashigi and kill it. He did end up hitting down a Kikunojo, which was a little annoying. I just had to do my part at making sure I still swing face a lot and just try to go really wide on my board. He had a Rayleigh trigger off of life, and he decided to blow up my Arlong, so I was able to lock down his leader and one of his Dawn for his following turn, so that kind of helped me out a little bit, get some tempo. He did have a really good turn where he was kind of able to go off a little bit. He played a Gecko Moria down, and he was able to throw one of his 2Ks into his life, and then using Sabo's effect, he was able to put the Gecko into life, so he had 2 really good triggers sitting there. So when I went for my lethal turn, it kind of looked a little bit different. I started out with a 7k swing with my Tashigi. I did have a Law in my hand, so if he triggered out a blocker, I could just rest it with the Tashigi, and sure enough, he ended up triggering out a blocker, so I played my Law. I picked up my Tashigi and played it right back down to rest that new blocker, and then I ended up swinging with my other Tashigi, which he had to end up taking. He ended up triggering out the Perona, so I couldn't swing with one of my 2 Laws, but I realized I could just go 12 to face, and with 4 cards in his hand, he just didn't have enough to get there. So we ended up getting the dub in round 2. Also, something to note is that all of us that showed up tonight actually got one of the tournament packs. So technically, we're all getting copies of all the really cool cards for this event. So really, we're just here to have fun with off-meta decks and try to win a little bit of store credit. We'll see you guys in round 3. Let's go. We are here back after round 3. I actually ended up pairing into green Uta. This is not a surprise, and I've kind of realized this after this past round. This is off meta night. This is when people can bring leaders that aren't considered meta and have fun. My hand is okay. It's not the greatest in the world, but I'm able to go first, which is half of the battle. Regardless of, I was able to get a Hiyori down and do a little bit of searching, but the really good thing about my hand right now is that I have a Tashigi. So whenever he plays a body down, I'm able just to get it off of the board. He played down a 4-drop Film Zoro, and of course I was able to get that off of the field. He ended up playing down another Film Zoro, and so when I went into my 7-Dawn turn, knowing that I have a Law in my hand, I choose to drop my Perona first to try and find another Tashigi, and sure enough, the final card that I revealed was a Tashigi. So I grabbed that, I played on my 6-drop Law, I bounced the Perona back to my hand, and then played on another Tashigi to rest his Zoro, and then killed the Zoro again. I am going wide, which is what I think is the best thing I can do in this matchup, since his leader's only 5k. Of course, going into his next turn, he plays a 3rd Film Zoro. Now, towards the end of the game, I had a really interesting turn. He had that Zoro, a 4-drop Uta, as well as a Law down on his field, and he was running low on life. Now, I do have a restand event in my hand, but more importantly, I have a I Know You're Strong event in my hand. I end up DMGing to rest his other 2 bodies. I swing face a bunch of times. My Cavendish ended up standing 2 of my Dawn, and so I swing 9 at his Zoro, which of course he gives me. I restand, swing 9 to life, which he takes, and even though I could have played the restand event and tried to go for game, I realized with him only having 2 bodies that I can stun with the stun event that only leaves his leader, and at 2 life, I can probably just go for lethal on the following turn. So I stun his 2 bodies and I pass back to him. He ends up playing a Sanji down, as well as grabbing a counter event from one of his searches, and of course, because of that Sanji, he's got a Dawn up for it. So I end up swinging 5k with my Zoro, which he counters out of, and then now the plan is just to go 999. So I attach 4 Dawn, I swing for 9, and he doesn't have enough counter for it. So we end up taking down Green Uta in round 3, bringing our record to 2-1. I'm having a lot of fun getting to play against all these really cool decks, and I'm really excited for round 4. With that being said, I'll check in with you guys after that, and let's go. Alrighty guys, we are back after round 4. I end up pairing into my really good friend Robin, who of course is playing Boa Hancock. Matter of fact, the only Boa in the entire room. I'm not going to lie, I already just think I'm going to lose. I end up winning die roll, so I get to go first. I look at my opening hand, and honestly, the only thing I'm missing to make it really good is 3-drop Mihawk. I do have a Perona, so I could search for that, but I don't know why. I just thought it'd be a good idea to send it back and try to draw back a new hand. So the hand that I end up picking up is honestly not terrible. I have a Django from my first play, which ends up finding me a Tashigi, and I immediately know that I'm going to have to switch up my game plan. Luckily for me, he didn't trigger off anything that was too crazy. I started getting him down in his life, so I end up playing Tashigi, clearing his guy, take a life, swing face. So at this point, my life is getting low, but so is his. I have 2 Tashigis and a Law Blocker. He ends up swinging smaller numbers, which of course I counter out of, and then he Grav Blades me. Now, of course, this didn't feel great, but at the same time, I wasn't that upset about it. Luckily for me, I do have a restand event in my hand, and he only has 1 life and not a ton of cards in hand. I end up swinging my Tashigi, and he gives me 2 2Ks. So with a low hand, I know that I probably just need to go for it. I end up going really big into his only body on the board and take a life. I then go at his life and he ends up taking it, and he just tells me I've got it. So I actually ended up winning my most difficult matchup by far. I ended up lucking out really big because he didn't draw the best, and on top of that, he never triggered anything too game altering from his life. So we are 3-1 going into our 5th and final round, and we'll just have to see what happens. So either way, I'll see y'all guys after next round, and let's go. What's going on, guys? We are back after round 5. It's been a long night of One Piece, but man, it's been so much fun. I checked my pairings on my phone, and of course, I am paired into none other than Mr. Brian Ha. Brian is playing Rebecca. Now, truth be told, I don't know a whole lot about this leader. I'm not gonna lie, my hand was all right, but I just ended up top decking into a lot of the stuff I needed. Had the 3-drop Mihawk, ended up top decking the Zoro that I could play off of it, ended up finding a Tashigi that I could play down. He was bouncing around these Kiros, which that's just a crazy card, right? He was able to get one of those Sabos down, but I just kept trying to go as wide as possible. I really didn't want that Sabo untapping, so I even went as far as using my I Know You're Strong event to stun it so it couldn't attack me. His hand was just massive. He had a ton of cards in his hand. I end up playing down my 3rd Tashigi to rest his Rebecca blocker, and then go 7 at life with 1 Tashigi, 7 at life with another Tashigi, and even though his hand is big, it's dwindling down. I go 7 with my Cavendish, and he just concedes. Now, I would have been able to go 11-11 with my leader because of that restand event. He just didn't have enough counter, even with the stage on his board, to get out of me getting there. So we actually ended up taking down our 5th and final round. So after all of our rounds, I actually ended up getting 4th place. And for that, I actually got 2 judge packs, which is pretty neat. All in all, this was just an awesome night getting to spend time with my friends. Honestly, it went a lot better than I was expecting. I didn't have a ton of time to practice Zoro, but honestly, the deck is just still so much fun and still really powerful. Shout out to all of my opponents tonight. A lot of really close and really great games. I say it all the time, but I really do love the community that I've found here at my locals. So with that being said, God bless. I'll see you guys in the next one, and let's